We have a lot to cover in the next hour. This webinar is divided into two parts. Part one will provide a broad overview of the different types of federal retirements. Part two will delve into the various components that make up a federal retiree's comprehensive retirement plan. Please feel free to enter your questions in the chat section, and we'll try to address some of them at the end of the presentation. You'll also receive a survey afterward where you can provide your contact information, ask further questions, and even request a one-on-one consultation. So let's get started. For those of you who aren't familiar with GEBA, we're a not-for-profit membership association with roots going back to 1957. We were founded by employees of the NSA to serve the needs of federal employees and their families. Our initial mission was to provide benefits that either complemented what the federal government offered or to fill gaps where benefits weren't available at the time. Since then, our membership has grown to approximately 16,000, and naturally, the needs of our members have evolved as well. To keep pace with those changing needs, we've expanded our service considerably. Today, in addition to our wide range of insurance benefits, many of which are designed for federal employees, we also offer comprehensive financial planning and investment management services. One of the most important things I want to emphasize is that all GEBA financial advisors are fiduciaries. That means we're legally and ethically bound to put our members' interests first, and it's a responsibility we take very seriously. Here are the topics we'll be reviewing, and like I said, there's going to be a part one, part two. Really, we're going to be going through the deferred resignation and the types of retirements, and then we'll hit on all the other components. So feel free, we will have copies of the slides available for you, and also a frequently asked question part that we'll email out to all the attendees. All right, so what is deferred resignation or retirement? It's an effort to downsize the federal government. It's going to be available to federal employees except members of the military, U.S. Postal Service, positions related to immigration enforcement, and national security. It requires a decision by February 6, 2025. It provides pay and benefits until September 30th, 2025. If you retire or resign early, there could be a reduction in your pension calculation. And we found that OPM has provided a pretty broad, frequently asked question piece that can be found, at the link below there. What they're expecting is anywhere between 5 to 10% of federal employees to resign or retire. From what we've heard, not many have chosen that so far. So I'm sure most of you fall under the FERS retirement system and how FERS work. It's the full retirement, an under-reduced pension, and subsidized health benefits. It's defined as a minimum retirement age and 30 years of service. For most of you, that's going to be age like 57 or 58. Age 60 with 20 years of service, and age 62 with 5 years of service. Some considerations: there's a 5% reduction in benefit for each year you're below your full retirement age. And then you also have to consider access to health insurance. You'll need to have health insurance for 5 consecutive years prior to retirement to take those benefits into retirement. So are you considering an early retirement, and what are your options? Now, please keep in mind that these slides were created yesterday and the day before. There's a lot of moving parts here, a lot of gray material that a lot of us don't know the full picture yet. So there may be some information that has come out that is a little outdated even from yesterday. So early out, and I know we put not offered but approved for agency department rollouts. As of today, and I believe there's a lot more agencies that got approved. The requirements for an early out: you have to be at least age 50 with 20 years of service, or any age with at least 25 years of service. Cannot take another civilian, federal job, or salary will be offset by your pension. No reduction in the annuity for the retirement age below 55. You get immediate health care coverage in retirement, and you also get to take the FEGLI coverage into retirement as well. The next type of retirement is called FERS postponed retirement. Okay, so this is for FERS employees who have reached the minimum retirement age and have anywhere between 10 to 30 years of credible service. You may delay receiving the pension benefits to avoid the age reduction penalty of the 5% per year. It does allow for reinstatement of the federal health benefits and FEGLI upon the start of your pension. TSP is going to be available penalty-free at separation of service, and the cost of living adjustments will start when your pension starts. As far as the federal health care benefits, it requires enrollment of 5 years prior to separation to take that into retirement. You can use COBRA. That's kind of a gap, to bridge the gap of insurance for up to 18 months. The next type we have is called FERS Deferred Retirement. This is going to be for FERS employees who leave federal service before the minimum retirement age with at least 5 years of credible service. You may receive a pension when you reach the appropriate age, as dictated by the years of credible service. That can be age 60 to 20 years, age 62 with at least 5 years. There's no reinstatement of health or life insurance, so you got to be careful choosing this type of retirement. The TSP cannot be taken penalty-free until age 59 and a half. So remember, if you're retired on postponed retirement or just your normal retirement and you're below age 59 and a half, normally you can access TSP without penalty. But if you choose deferred retirement, there is a penalty involved if you're under the age of 59 and a half. There's also no survivor benefits for the employees to pass down to their spouses. Keep in mind, the cost of living adjustments does not start until age 62. So comparing the two, deferred and postponed, remember eligibility. If you're before your minimum retirement age with deferred retirement on the left side here, if you're before minimum retirement age with at least 5 years of service, you'll be eligible. Remember, as far as the pension reduction with deferred, there's none. It cannot be taken early. You're not going to be eligible for the federal health care benefits. Can't take FEGLI into retirement. The TSP access is the age 59 and a half. No survivor benefit available for the spouse. And the COLAs don't start until age 62. Compared to postponed retirement, it's after minimum retirement age with anywhere between 10 to 30 years of service. You can choose not to have a pension reduction if you wait long enough. You're eligible to take the federal health care benefits into retirement when you start the pension, along with FEGLI. When you retire, TSP will be available for withdrawals. You can choose a survivor benefit, and the cost of living adjustment will start at the receipt of your pension. Like I said, OPM's website does have they did a great job kind of outlining the different types of retirement. And they do have a frequently asked question page that we thought was very helpful as well. So what's the impact? So as you review the choices, you want to consider these 5 different topics, the effect on the pension, because remember, if you're going to be shortening the time that you're going to be a federal employee, that goes into the calculation of the pension. If you need health insurance, life insurance, that could have effect on it. If you need to access TSP to fill the income gap, the survivor benefit, if maybe you need to pass on the income to your spouse, maybe you're not eligible for life insurance, so maybe the survivor benefit is your only option. So again, you want to take that. And then the effect of COLA, if you're expecting those cost of living adjustments. So everybody's situation is going to be different. We've gotten a lot of phone calls over the last day or so. Is this right for me? And I know some agencies receive word of, the early voluntary, the VERA, and is it right for me? Our answer to that is it's going to be different for everyone. What I would say is take a look at all the different resources that you have. Do a calculation of what your pension will be. Do you have another job that's kind of set up? Are you going to be taking benefits with that job? Will you need, will your spouse be able to provide benefits for you through their job? So, I mean, everybody's situation is going to be different. What I would say is there's various calculators. I know a lot of people need to make a decision within the next day or so. Hopefully, you've done some financial planning in the near term to kind of get a feel if it's right for you. We do have all those tools available for you. Again, I know it's short notice, but again, it's going to be different for everybody because everybody's in a different situation as it pertains to the amount of the pensions, the amount of assets, the amount of the insurance need, spouses. So it's a lot to think about. All right, so we kind of went through this. You want to take a look again, pension calculations, pull your Social Security statements, see what the potential, the income's going to be down the road. Take a look at the thrift savings plan. Have you saved enough? Are you invested the right way? Can you project out those rates of return along with inflation? There's lots of calculators out there. You can kind of do some quick math and maybe see if it's right for you. And that really covers the first part. Just know that everybody's going to be different depending on the amount of service that you have, your age, and those tools are available for you. Please go ahead and get those questions in the chat section. We'll try to get some of those at the end, but we're going to move on to our next part that will go into more in depth of the various components that make up a federal retiree's comprehensive financial plan. Okay, and that has your pensions, retirement income, how taxes play a factor, Social Security, investment allocation, and legacy planning for the future, either for your kids, grandkids, things like that. So at this time, we're going to move on to these other topics. Let's start with your thrift savings plan. Contribution limits for 2025 has gone up a little bit. You can choose to contribute to either the traditional or Roth TSP or both. If you're under the age of 50, the limit's going to be $23,500. And remember, you're contributing on a biweekly basis. So you don't want to exhaust the limit prior to the year ending, because if you come up to, say, November or so and you've already maxed it out, you can't contribute. If you don't contribute, you don't get the match. And that's just leaving some money on the table. So just make sure you calculate the biweekly contribution to try to max it out 23,500. If you can't max it out, rule of thumb would say start at 10% and then kind of bump it up until whatever's affordable for you. But the goal should be is to get to that 23,500. Once you turn age 50, in the year you turn 50, you can contribute upwards to 31,000. So what that is the 23,000 plus the $7,500 catch up. And again, if you can put it, you can allocate it between the traditional and the Roth. The Roth, if you don't know, will grow totally tax free, but it is not tax deductible. So it's not pre-tax. It's not lowering your taxable income. If you do put 100% towards Roth, your matching will go to the traditional, not to the Roth. Some people get that confused. Here's the matching program for FERS employees. If you don't put anything at all in, they'll contribute 1% on your behalf, and then the next 3% that you contribute, it'll be $1 for dollar, and then the percentages of 4 to 5, it'll be 50%. It basically comes up to 5%, the first 5%. So again, you want to stretch those contributions over the 26 pay period so you don't miss out on the matching. The various funds that are available in the TSP, it's pretty simple. There's 5 different funds, and then they have what's called the lifestyle funds. The 5 different funds available, they start with the C fund. It's common stock, and it mirrors the S&P 500 index. And so that would be like the 500 largest US companies. You have the S fund, which mirrors the small cap index, so small US companies. You have the I fund, which is going to be large cap international companies. The F fund, which is going to be like a corporate bond fund. The G fund, government securities. The G fund's the only one that can never be negative. The others can. For instance, the F fund, it's under the fixed income portion there, but just know that that has an inverse relationship with interest rates. If the Federal Reserve increases interest rates, the performance on the F fund will go down, and vice versa. If they cut interest rates, then potentially the performance will go up. But the G fund's kind of going to be, it's going to follow government securities. It's going to give you that range of return of anywhere from like 2.5% to 3%. It did do about 4.4% last year, but I don't foresee it doing that high, going that high in the foreseeable future. The lifestyle funds are nice because what it does is it creates a diversified portfolio based on the year that you're going to target to retire. And they also target retirement funds. So it makes it pretty simple for the first time investor to keep it diversified. The portfolio will get more conservative as you reach that retirement year. So for example, if you pick the L2030 fund, typically you're picking that fund because you're going to be retiring around 2030. And as you reach 2030, the portfolio will shift to be more conservative as you reach that date. The L income fund that you see right below the G fund there, that's going to consist of 20% of the F and G, and 80% of the F and G and 20% of the CS&I. So the L income is if you're going to be withdrawing from it today or retiring today. We call this our investment pyramid. So the ones listed at the top there are going to have your most risk, but also could potentially give you the most reward as well. Removing funds from TSP depends on if you're retired or in service. Retired withdrawals, it can be an amount anywhere over $1,000 every 30 days. You can do a single payment direct deposited into your bank. Just know that that's going to be taxable. Installment payments, you can do it monthly, quarterly, semi-annually, annually. It's going to be taxable. You can do a direct transfer to an outside traditional IRA. That's going to be non-taxable. One of the reasons why you may want to do that is maybe because you want a little bit more diversification in your portfolio other than the 5 different index funds that they provide. You can also do full or partial withdrawals as a life annuity, and it's irrevocable, meaning you can't change your mind on it. I would say if you're thinking about that, get a second opinion. More times than not, it may make sense just to do kind of a systematic withdrawal from TSP instead of entering into a payment commitment, with an insurance carrier. The requirement of distributions must come first if you're over 73. Okay, so if you're withdrawing anything, those requirement and distributions must come out first before a transfer occurs. There's also in-service withdrawals, and that's if you're age 59 and a half or over. Same as above, but you're only allowed 4 per year. We run into this quite a bit with our members that we're doing planning with if they want a little bit more diversification, or if they want maybe to secure a higher fixed rate than maybe what the G fund or the F fund can provide. Right now, fixed rates in the insurance industry is about anywhere from 5 to 5.5% fixed for like 5 to 7 years. So we have a lot of different options outside the TSP, and if you're over 59 and a half, you can take advantage of those. All right, another type of asset you may hold is a traditional or Roth IRA. A traditional IRA, the contributions, it could be tax deductible. You must have earned income to do that. Keep in mind, if you have an employer-sponsored plan, your contribution to a traditional IRA will not be tax deductible, and also it depends on your income. You know, it's tiered. If you make too much, then it's possible that the contribution also will not be tax deductible. Distributions are always going to be taxable. There are required minimum distributions starting at age 73. Another planning tool that we've been seeing quite a bit is called the QCD. It's a qualified charitable distribution, and that's available at age 70.5. And what you're doing there is if you need to take the RMD and you don't need it and you don't want to be taxed on it, you could give it away to charity and up to a certain limit every year. Okay, so we've been seeing a lot of folks doing that quite often. On the other side there, we have the Roth IRA. The contributions are never taxable. You have to be eligible to make a Roth IRA contribution. There's an adjusted gross income limit on eligibility. There's also what's called a backdoor Roth that's kind of come in play over the last few years. That's where you make a non-deductible traditional IRA contribution, and then you turn around and convert it into a Roth IRA. So it's kind of a nice planning tool to use. But there's lots of rules with it. So, you know, please consult with an advisor or tax preparer before you do something like that. A distribution from a Roth IRA is totally tax-free, and there's no required minimum distributions ever from a Roth IRA. Other investments that you may hold, you have certificate of deposits that are going to be held at the bank or credit unions. Interest rates are still pretty nice. Money market accounts, it keeps it liquid. A lot of times they'll offer you a higher interest rate than just your normal savings accounts. Stable value accounts, we have a stable value account at GEBA. Right now the rate's pretty attractive, 3.4% or so. It is liquid for those that are age 59.5 or older. You can use it with cash, a traditional IRA or TSP, or Roth IRA money. There's also mutual funds, taxable mutual funds that you can use, individual stocks, individual bonds, tax deferred annuities. Just know that, you know, we at GEBA, we have access to almost everything under the sun, you know, when it comes to comprehensive financial planning. So if you are interested in looking at any one of these different investment types, please come see us and we'll go over all your options. Things to consider when you're looking at all these various investment instruments, your risk tolerance. The risk tolerance, it's your ability to lose some or all your investment due to market fluctuations. So it really has to depend on what the goal is for the funds. If it's for retirement and you're 10 years out, you probably should not be in the G fund. You know, if you're on the brink of retirement within 5 years, maybe you should plan for, you know, 3 to 5 years worth of income, and that should be more on your conservative type of investments like the G fund. Time horizon is important. If you need to liquidate soon, you know, again, that's what we talked about, you know, 10 years out, 5 years out, you know, take a look to see how much risk that you're exposed to. When your portfolio is new, the investment's small, and the time horizon's long, you know, you can afford to take on risk and market volatility. I got a call just a few days ago, person I've been working with for quite some time, 12 years or so. And he's wondering, hey, you know, with all the new administration, all these changes and all the market fluctuations that have been happening, you know, how should I be pulling anything over to G fund or, you know, pulling things into cash? And my answer to him is, you know, we look at historically, you know, he's still like 12 years out from retirement. He still has the time to kind of weather the storm, if you will. You know, so it's going to be different for everybody. Everybody's situation is going to be different. You know, it depends on the action that you take. And that kind of brings us to our last point. There's no perfect asset mix. I get that question a lot. Hey, I'm 40. What should I be doing? Well, I have the nervous Nelly 40-year-old that has 80% in G, 20% in C, and then I have the ultra risk adverse person, or I shouldn't say risk adverse, but ultra aggressive 75-year-old that wants everything stock. So again, everybody's situation is going to be different. It's best just to consult with an advisor and find out what the right mix for you. Again, asset allocation is just a division of between stocks, bonds, cash. It's just how do you have it proportioned in the portfolio. We're going to hit on a couple slides here with the market commentary, just to kind of do a year in review of 2024. We're going to start with a quote from Warren Buffett. To invest successfully over a lifetime does not require stratospheric IQ, unusual business insights, or inside information. What's needed is a sound intellectual framework for making decisions and the ability to keep emotions from corroding that framework. So again, there's a lot of emotions that are out there that can dictate the motion of the market. A lot of times, if you can be disciplined enough, and you see a lot of times, I'll buy on the dip, right? And that's information comes out. We've heard a lot of information about a lot of these tech companies over the last week or so, and you see a huge dip in the market. A lot of times, that signals a buy. You have to look at that as that company being on sale. And a lot of times I'll get phone calls that say, hey, the market's down 5%. Should we pull everything into cash? What are we going to do? Well, I would say, do you have more? Can we invest more? Can we, because when the market's down, you're gathering or you're purchasing a lot more shares than when the market's at all-time highs. So, you really want to stay invested through those tough times. And again, but you got to plan for it, right? If you're retiring, plan for 5 years worth of income to come out of a conservative type of investment. Again, you want to look, everybody's situation is going to be different. Market performance for different asset classes during 2024. You can see the S&P 500, that's going to be kind of like your C fund, 25% return. You have the various asset classes, mid cap, small cap. As you can see, small cap and U.S. value, you can see return 10.8 and 13.8%. A lot of folks see that as underperforming. We see it as undervalued. So the markets are always cyclical, meaning the winners of last year will not always be the winners of next year. And that's why you got to be, it's important not to chase returns, but to take a look to see what happened, what's underperforming, and maybe that would be a good decision to kind of add some of those asset classes to your portfolio. If you're looking back the last 10 years, here's how those asset classes performed on average. Now, the S&P 500, 13.1%. That's not 13.1% for 10 years. That's averaging 13.1% per year over the last 10 years. As you can see, the U.S. growth, that's where tech has kind of taken over. If you've heard of the Magnificent Seven, the big growth stocks has outperformed the S&P 500. I would say over maybe 10 or 15 years ago, that U.S. value, large cap value, always outperformed growth. But because of the tech evolution we've had over the last 10, 15 years or so, tech, the U.S. large cap growth has kind of taken over. We were talking about the Magnificent Seven that contains Meta or Facebook, Amazon, Apple, Google, NVIDIA, Microsoft, Tesla. And as you can see, the returns compared to the other indexes. I like this slide. It shows you the value of staying invested. having an initial $100,000 investment with the total returns. As you can see, some of those dips there, the pandemic, the blue line there shows a buy and hold philosophy, move to cash for 1 year, moved to cash and never got back in. And then you saw, the column there, the light blue column is, you have that financial crisis situation there. But if you stayed in, you were rewarded. For those that got scared and got out, some took a long time to get back in, some didn't get back in at all, and they were not rewarded for it. U.S. recoveries after the financial crisis, if you hold a 60% stock, 40% bond portfolio after various events, it kind of just shows you the returns, after 1 month, after 6 months, a year, 3 years, after 5 years. So you can see the dark blue off to the right, and the longer you hold it, with different time horizons, eventually the portfolio comes back historically. This kind of shows you the risk of the stock market. It kind of falls over time. So the longer you're holding a portfolio, so you can see the bottom there, 15-year annualized returns. It's basically 100% positive annualized returns if you're going back at least 15 years. Going back 5 years, it's going to be a positive annualized return 87% of the time. And then just looking back over 1 year, a lot of people only remember the red. They don't remember the green. And that's why it's important to not get too emotional with your investing and take a look at your financial plan and your time horizon, and most importantly, stay invested. Here shows the importance of a diversified portfolio. Remember, we talked about the market's very cyclical. The winners of last year is not always the winner of the next year. When you see S&P 500, again, you can see, that could be your C fund. The EAFE could be your I fund. Small cap, dark blue could be your S fund. But it's important to have a little bit of everything in your portfolio, and that's the yellow, the light yellow part there, the balanced. It may not be the winner every year, but at least you're not at the bottom every year either. So it's important to stay diversified. The more asset classes you add to our portfolio, the lower the more you lower your risk level for a certain portfolio. I get this question quite a bit. Kind of a cool little stat here, just showing the average annual returns with different, administrations. The way I see it, they're both double-digit returns, which is pretty nice. All right, when it comes to investing, there is fear. It's just it's human nature. What I kind of say to the people I work with is, you got to be careful how much TV you watch, how much you're reading. I mean, it's not always going to be doom and gloom. You got to look at historical events. So again, a lot of times I tell the people I work with, not only do we help you with various investment strategies and withdrawal strategies, but I also talk you off the ledge when you call in. You want to move everything from stock over into stable value account, and we have to take a look at your particular situation and see if it's necessary. But also, like we look at the bottom there, volatility leads to opportunities, right? Warren Buffett has a quote, be greedy when others are fearful, right? And take advantage of those market pullbacks. Pullbacks in the market are they're natural. It's necessary. It's a good thing. But if you zoom out and look at the historical performance of the market, it's always a trend. It's an upward trend. All right, let's take a look at the different retirement pensions. We're going to quickly go over CSRS. There's not a whole lot of folks still in this category, but there are still some. This is going to be employees hired before 1983. They get a full retirement at an earlier age than FERS. They have access to the voluntary contribution plan. That's kind of like a spillover account for a second annuity, if you will. You could do some pretty cool planning with that type of account as it pertains to Roth conversions. So if you are a CSRS employee or still employed, you can't be retired, but or if you know of any coworkers, please have them contact us. There are some really cool strategies they can do, but once they retire, that it kind of goes out the door. They don't have access to it anymore. They do have access to TSP, but there is no matching involved. Typically, there's no Social Security benefits unless they meet their 40 credits. Maybe they worked after their civil service, and they may. In the WEP, the windfall elimination provision has recently been changed as well for those folks. We show the annuity calculation. There's also a little bit more of a flexibility with the survivor benefit as well. Here's just a quick calculation of how, what a CSRS employee's pension looks like. The first 5 years, it's 1.5 for every year of service. The second 5 years, it's 1.75% for every year of service. And then everything after that, it's 2% for every year of service. So just a quick calculation, and it's based on the high three. And in this situation, this example, we have Sean Jones. A high three was 100,000, 25 years of service, 46.25% of 100,000. That would potentially be the yearly pension. Touched on the voluntary contribution plan. Again, if you really exhaust your federal service where you work, I want to say it's 42 years and so many months. They basically, it doesn't go towards your main pension anymore. It goes start your contributions from your pay start going into the voluntary contribution plan. But I haven't seen that happen too often. But really, if you haven't reached that maximum years of service, but you're still under the CSRS and you're still employed, you can contribute up to 10% of your lifetime earnings as a federal employee into this voluntary contribution account. And then you can turn around and convert it into a Roth IRA. So it's almost like super funding a Roth. So please, contact us if you'd like to further explore that option. All right, FERS, and that's where most of you will fall into. This is for everyone that was hired after December 31st, 1983. It's a combined pension with the Social Security. It has the TSP matching involved. The calculation is if you have 20 years of service and are at least age 62, it's going to be 1.1% for every year of service. For all others, it's 1%. So, when we're doing these webinars, seminars, and you're on the brink of retirement or just thinking about when to retire, we always say if you're 20 years and 61, do you work that one extra year? Yes. As a planner, I want to see 10% more of a fixed source of income. That's just going to help you down the road. But we understand if you got to get out, you got to get out. But if you can get to that 1.1% for every year of service, it's just going to help your plan that much more. There are 3 different survivor options. You can either leave your spouse 50%, you can leave them 25%, or nothing at all, and your pension's not reduced. So here's an example of the FERS calculation using the 3 highest paid years. So you can see if you have at least if you're at least age 62 with 5 years of service, it's going to be 1% for every year. At least age 62 with 20 years of service, 1.1% per year. Here's an example with Sean Jones again. Look, FERS employee with 30 years of service, retiring at 62, averaging 100,000 a year. Because he met that 62 and 20 eligibility, it's 1.1% for every year of service. So 1.1% multiplied by 30, 33%. 33% multiplied by 100,000 gives you 33,000 for that component of the benefit. So for the FERS. There's also what's called a special retirement supplement. This is meant to take the place of Social Security if you're under age 62. Once you reach age 62, the supplement will stop. So it's up to you whether you want to start Social Security or delay Social Security so it grows even more. To be eligible for it, you have to meet the minimum retirement age with at least 30 years of service, or voluntary retirees age 60 with at least 20 years of service. And it's pretty easy to calculate. You take your total number of years of service divided by 40, and you multiply that by your Social Security benefit at age 62. If you've never downloaded your Social Security statement before, you can go to ssa.gov, create an ID password, create an account, and it's very easy to download a statement. So here's a retirement supplement example. We had Jane Smith, FERS employee, will retire with 30 years of credible service. She has reached her minimum retirement age, which is 57. Her age 62 Social Security will be $1,200. 30 divided by 40, multiplied by 1,200. So her FERS supplement will be $900 a month. Between the ages of 57 and 62, Jane would receive $900 a month, and it's also subject to taxes. Okay, I'm going to quickly review Social Security. So you have to have earned income. You have to work to earn Social Security credits. Each $1,810 in earnings gives you 1 credit. You can earn a maximum of 4 credits per year. Earning 40 credits over 10 years worth of work qualifies you for the retirement benefit. So I would urge you to create that account with the Social Security Administration and review all your earnings over the years. They do make mistakes sometimes. And so it's very crucial for them to correct it so you get the correct amount of benefit. So how they determine your benefit. Step 1, the actual earnings are indexed or adjusted to account for changes in the average wages since the year the earnings were received. They find the monthly average of your 35 highest earning years, and the result is an average index monthly earnings. If you retire early, you may have to factor in multiple lower earning years into your average. So the longer you work, the more you make, those lower income amounts will fall off. Early and delayed filing affects the amount you receive. So if you think about it, they have what's called a full retirement age. For most folks, it's 67. There are some folks that's still at 66. If you think about it, you're eligible to start at age 62, but it's going to be a reduced amount. At your full retirement age, 67 or 66, that's your full benefit. And then after that, all the way up to age 70, it will increase by 8% per year until age 70. Once you reach age 70, you don't want to wait anymore. It doesn't grow anymore. Start the benefit. Okay. You also got to watch if you're still in the workforce and the amount that you're making. If you elected to start your benefit before your full retirement age and you still have income coming in, earned income, that could drastically reduce your Social Security benefit. So really, you want to, you don't want to take Social Security until you fully stop working, or if you can live off other assets and just let it kind of, increase over time, 8% per year after your full retirement age. That'd be a great strategy if you believe your life expectancy will be any age over, I would say, age 84, 85. It makes more sense to wait till age 70. So you have 3 different categories for the Social Security benefit. You have your own benefit, you have a spousal benefit, which could be 50% of your spouse's, and then a survivor benefit, which is the higher of either, between either spouse. So again, what we find is if there's two spouses with a pretty good age difference there, it does make sense for the higher wage earner to kind of wait until 70 because that's going to be able to give them a much higher benefit once they pass. Other things to consider, have you thought about the spouse's needs? So again, that's where the financial planning comes along. We project, a future cash flow, and we can do this where, one spouse passes, how much will the surviving spouse need? We factor in all sorts of fixed sources of income, that being Social Security or maybe the pension, the survivor pension option. You possibly could use life insurance to fulfill that need as well. But just know, 85% of your Social Security benefit is taxable. Cost of living adjustments may magnify the impact of early or delayed claiming. How's your health? If you think you're gonna, pass early on, when I say early on, maybe, prior to age 80, maybe it makes sense to claim it earlier. If you believe you're going to be living past 84, 85, then it makes more sense to wait. Are you planning to still work? Remember, we talked about, if you're going to be doing that part-time job or a full-time job, if you're going to be making over, 28,000, 29,000 a year, that could drastically reduce your Social Security benefit. Do you even need the income? You could maybe live off other assets that could be less taxable. Will other family members qualify for benefits on your record? We've run into that situation a few times. Do special CSRS considerations apply to you? And again, that's where the whole windfall elimination provision comes in play, and those rules have been changed recently. Let's talk about managing risk. When we talk about risk, we're not talking about life insurance, or I'm sorry, investment risk. We're talking about like risk as it pertains, to your health, to your life. Who's depending on you for income? Who's depending on you for your pension? That's where life insurance will come in play. Here at GEBA, we are appointed with many carriers. We also offer a group health plan or a group term life plan that's very cost effective between the ages of 20 to say 55 or so. But we do offer individual insurance through 20 plus carriers. It could be permanent insurance, and that would be universal or whole life, or term insurance. Your health, right? If you don't have the right health insurance in force, that would mean more out of pocket. Dental, dental insurance is very important. Those crowns are pretty expensive. If you don't have dental care coverage, you're paying out of pocket for that. Long-term care needs. Eventually, you're going to need some sort of help down the road. I think they say it's a 75% chance that you'll need some sort of assistance down the road. At age 80, 85. We offer long-term care insurance to kind of help you with those expenses. We also offer the home, auto, and umbrella insurance policies. Liability, right? So if you're sued, someone could be suing you, and that could be, pretty financially catastrophic. And so you have to make sure you have the right sort of liability limits in place, and that comes in play with the home and the auto insurance. And the umbrella policy is going to be one that kind of comes over top. If you've exhausted the home and auto insurance liabilities, the umbrella policy will kind of come in play after that, and they come in increments of $1 million, $2 million. I've seen as much as $4 million, and it's not that expensive either. Here we have kind of it's a chart: insurance needs by age. As you can see, as you get older, the need goes up for the various types of insurance. And again, we offer group dental, group vision. We do not offer group health, but again, it's important to keep that group health policy going. Most federal employees will take the federal health care benefits into retirement along with Medicare Part B, so you have two plans covering you. If you're interested in discussing that a little bit further, we can again design a plan for you and show how that kind of works with your particular situation. FEGLI, this is the Federal Employee Group Life Insurance. A lot of times as you get older, the need for life insurance goes away, but there are always times where you're getting into a new mortgage, maybe late in retirement. And, maybe that's a time where life insurance would be needed. You can take FEGLI into retirement. It does get very expensive. There are different options with FEGLI. First you have your basic coverage. I always recommend that you take your basic coverage into retirement. Most folks don't need the coverage, but it becomes a free policy into retirement after age 65. Option A is going to be 10,000. A lot of times I don't see that. Option B is going to be multiples of your salary. But again, if we find that you need hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars of life insurance, probably a more cost-effective way to go about it. But again, you got to take a look at your health. If health is an issue, FEGLI may be the way to go, and that may be your only option. Option C is for family members. It gives you very little coverage for a spouse and children. Again, I would probably seek coverage on the outside if you truly need coverage for the spouse. There's other ways to do it that are much more cost effective. All right, health insurance. You have your major health and dental plans. Medicare, there's different parts of Medicare. Part A, that's usually for hospital stays. Part B, that requires a monthly premium, usually deducted out of your Social Security payments. That's for like your regular doctor visits. Part C, it's a combination of A and B offered by private carriers. Part D is going to be your premium. You have to pay for that. It's extra. That's going to be for your prescription drug plans. What I always suggest for folks is, if they are taking two plans into retirement, a lot of times they'll just select Part B. They'll have A and B. A doesn't cost anything, but they will have B, and then that way they have two different plans to kind of reduce that out-of-pocket expense. A lot of times they will not choose Part C, and they will not choose Part D because they have the federal health care program. But again, everybody's situation is going to be different. Open enrollment every November. A lot of times there are special open enrollments, and then with Medicare Part B, there could be a late enrollment penalty. As long as you're covered by a group plan, if you're still working, you can delay electing Part B. They will not penalize you for that, but you have to be covered under a group plan if you apply later on. Long-term care insurance, this is going to protect you for the cost of extended care received for an injury or a chronic long-term illness or a cognitive impairment. A lot of times, I guess the window when, or the sweet spot when people start applying for this is anywhere between age 50 and 60. It really, it blends the most efficient combination of time spent paying premiums, the health, annual cost, and benefits compounded over time. The options, you have private long-term care insurance. It's an individual or a shared plan. Sometimes they have what's called linked benefits, where it's a life insurance with a long-term care rider. A lot of folks like them because it's someone's going to receive the benefit of it. It's either you pass away, you don't use long-term care, beneficiaries get the life insurance death benefit. If you're still living, more than likely you're going to need extended care. And the long-term care benefits will come in play. There is a federal long-term care program for individuals. It's priced well for those that do not have the best health rating, and that's kind of been in a blackout period for new policies. Planning for your future. Retirement's your priority. Okay, you can't finance your retirement. You got to save for it, and you got to save the right way. And remember, retirement is not a point in time, but it's a long period of time. And your retirement savings should not be measured in one lump sum, but rather as like periodic payments. You're doing that if you're contributing to TSP with biweekly payments. That's dollar cost averaging. You're buying shares when they're at low, when the market's down, and you're buying shares when they're high, when the market's up, but overall, you should get a reduced share price. You can't, and again, like I just said, can't borrow for retirement. Retirement costs more than education. The more time spent in retirement than a child spends in college. So again, retirement is a lot more important, I would say, than planning. I mean, child's education is very important. Don't get me wrong, but planning for retirement, the retirement's going to be a lot longer. 98% of retirees regret how they spent their money, and they wish they would have saved more. Unless the help of experts, attorneys, CPAs, CFPs. CFPs are going to be certified financial planners, CPAs, certified public accountants, for taxes. Look at the credentials. All of our advisors hold the Chartered Employee Benefit Consultant designation. That means we keep up with all the education that has to do with federal benefits every year. So we can kind of use that when we're doing our full comprehensive planning. Experience, myself, I'm coming up on 17 years with GEBA, so I've been doing thousands of plans over the years. I've seen every situation. Please use our experience. Recommendations, we're all salaried advisors here, so please feel free to come to us with a second opinion. Availability, our team has grown over the years, so we'll be, I'm sure we'll be able to handle anything that comes to us. Fee structure is important when you're interviewing other advisors. We do have some products and services that are fee structured. And then history, right? You want to make sure that the person you're dealing with, has the right type of history. And so do your due diligence with all your relationships with advisors. And understand your benefits. As a civilian federal employee, you have access to excellent benefits. I can't tell you how much a pension helps a financial planner kind of plan for their client. You can complement your current benefits with other benefits to fulfill your needs. So again, we have a full array of products that we can help you with. Please take a look and let us know if you'd like to discuss those options. All right, we kind of gone over this. Licensed investment advisors, insurance consultants, we have everything. Competitive group pricing when you're looking at, again, group dental, group vision, group term life, group long-term disability. They are all group pricing. So please look at us, if you are looking around for other coverage. As we kind of told you before, we have one side of GEBA that has the group benefits with insurance. The other side is our wealth management. And we're going to wrap it up. This is our contact information. Our office is located in Hanover, Maryland. Feel free to email that info@gebawealth.com. One of our advisors will get back to you right away. We have members all over the world that we work with. We use, video conferencing, in-person appointments, phone appointments, everything. So please feel free to reach out to us. And thank you for your time tonight. Looks like we are right at 8 p.m. So what we're going to do is take a look at the various questions, and we're going to put that out as a frequently asked question to all the attendees, and also, again, in the surveys, if you can please put your contact information. And there's, we understand that you kind of are under a deadline here, and myself and the other advisors, we will try to answer all your questions as quickly and as efficient as possible. So thank you and have a great night.